Hi, Boyd.
Your space during our anniversary sale.
Oh, good
and
evening.
Enjoy up to
You're there.
$599 in
I am here.
included. High Point University.
How are you?
Well, I've been better. I've had this hacking cough thing that a lot of people have had. And I went to the doctor today, and they basically said we're going to have a pulmonologist take a look at why you, after 11 weeks, why you're still coughing up phlegm and have this persistent cough. So I'm not sure why.
Well, they're good. They'll find it.
Yeah, I have a pretty good group, so I'm pretty happy with them. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. How's the granddaughter?
Now that's a beautiful topic.
Isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
very happy with that.
Hey,
And my daughter uh, also she's pregnant, so she's going to be having another one in June. So
all right.
we're working on number two. And my younger daughter is feeling pressured to catch up with her older sister.
Uh-oh. Yeah. Let's see that? I don't know if it's
Boys?
yeah, these two rascals right there.
Oh, boy and a girl.
No, they're both boys.
Oh, they're both boys. Okay.
This doesn't work over that video. Yeah. See, I've got this theory that if you take your kids and at about 13, you send them away.
Yeah,
Then when they're 27, they send their grandkids over to you. Then you'd have a perfect life.
that's right. Yeah, yeah. It's definitely one of those wonderful experiences having grandchildren. I mean, my kids were absolutely great, so I never had any problems with them, and they were sweethearts. So, two girls, so I was
Hmm.
perfectly happy with that. And now I'm going to have two granddaughters. The next one's going to be a granddaughter too. So
All right.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Let me make sure that we are going to, I think we're recording, but let me double check and make sure it's doing that. It may not start until the meeting actually starts. So
Yeah.
you look very comfortable on the beach there.
That's one of my favorite places. Yeah. That's the Pajaro Beach.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have a place in Pajaro Dunes or?
No, my son-in-law's grandfather did, and they passed it down a few generations, then sold off, and now they've got condos in Hawaii and Maui. So
Well, that's a good deal too.
a lot of travel to sit on a beach.
Yeah, I have a,
She was married over there, so
oh yeah. Well,
a lot of dollars to get your daughter married over
yeah, I'll bet. Destination wedding.
there. Hmm.
Both of my oldest daughter got married in a winery in Sonol, a beautiful 150-year-old stone winery. And my youngest got married in Monterey at a beautiful Victorian house with beautiful grounds. So,
Oh, nice.
yeah.
That's what I was hoping for, but no, we want to go to Hawaii. You
Well,
can't say no to your daughter. That's all right.
the good news is they were fairly local. The bad news is they got married a year apart. So
Ooh,
trying to recover from the first one and the second one hits you.
cash flow becomes an issue, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Well, I was smart that from early on, I told them, okay, here's a bank account, here's the money. And when you tell me you're engaged, I'm going to transfer that to you. and that's what you've got to spend. If you want to spend less than that, you can. If you want to spend more than that, you can. But that's your fixed amount. So,
Yeah.
and they both did great. So,
Yeah. Well, it was a good wedding in Hawaii because the setting on the beach was absolutely gorgeous. You would not believe you were on planet Earth. It was so beautiful. Yes.
yeah.
It was worth it.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
And she's still married, I take it.
They're still married. Have been married for a little over 10 years. Yeah. Two boys. They're just full of piss and vinegar. And it's really surprising in a way because kids don't usually turn out to be as balanced as these kids are.
That's true.
They do well at sports and they do well in school and a little bit of trouble around the house. So that's just kind of normal.
Yeah, you can't ask for more than that.
Yeah.
Well, good. Uh, I don't know if it's recording because it's now the meeting time, but I haven't seen they've got, of course, they restructure all this Zoom meetings stuff, and they change the way it looks. And so I can't find the same place I used to just go to say recorded. But oh, here we go. Pause, stop recording. Well, I guess I'm going to stop it for a second or pause it for a second.
Hey,
All right, it's
start
recording.
over. Start over. They don't need to know about our grandkids.
That's right. That's right. Okay. Boyd, since you're the only one here, you're going to get special attention.
Uh, it's not necessary if you want to do something else. I would not feel bad if you said postpone
Uh,
while
no,
you take your voice.
no, I'm okay. I'd rather just get it over with. That's okay with you. So feel free to ask any questions. Do you use Photoshop or do you use Lightroom?
I use Photoshop Elements mostly when I do something because I've been using it. I haven't used Photoshop. Well, for a lot of years, I ran marketing groups and I always had somebody there that did Photoshop.
Right.
Then I always had Photoshop and a couple of others in my computer in my office.
Yeah.
So I was really good at screwing around with them. But the experts were just outside in a real environment. So I
Well,
could I did a lot more on Adobe Illustrator because I'd put together
okay.
programs, the
Yeah.
program, the group that I managed. And
Yeah.
so, for one thing, I don't, like Larry has this group of 6, whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Seeing in sixes.
Yeah. Why the hell do you 6 when some should be charts, some should be graphs, some should be photos, some should be
Right. Right.
literature, like a
Yeah.
website page, then
Sure.
1,000 website pages and give them to
Yeah.
somebody, launch them, that sort of thing. So
Yeah.
I've done a lot with the Photoshop elements and before the earlier Photoshop. And back in those days, there was early on, there was a fellow who was in Los Gatos. I don't remember his name now, but he was one of the original testers of early Photoshop.
Right.
Yeah. And I'd go over and see him if I had something difficult to do. That's before I hired my own people to do it. So.
Well, the good news is that Photoshop Elements, it's the tools are in different places, but everything's there.
Yeah.
Almost everything's there at a tenth of the price. So Photoshop Elements is a good deal for most people.
Yeah, and I've done some fairly sophisticated things with it, like
Yeah.
blends and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I don't, I really don't want to get so far into it that I'm doing all the whiz bang stuff unless I have to.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Well,
But, like one of the ladies that worked for me a couple of companies ago, we got this. I set up the marketing group so that it looked like a service bureau. So if a customer came in, they'd say, "This is what I want to do."
right.
I'd say, "Come on in, sit down with Deborah," and they'd go over it. And they would be in a setting that they were used to, and they were with an expert on it. And then I got this artisan from Concord contacted me one day, and he said that he did 3-dimensional artwork.
Yeah.
And he was wondering if I knew somebody who could help him out. So I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to bring that project in house.
Mm.
So I brought that in house, and he was doing a huge mural of Joe Montana. It's called
Oh,
Go.
wow. Yeah.
And she worked on it. I don't tell the cops this, but I let him pay her while I was paying her because she had college loans to pay off. And I didn't tell the boss, who was a billionaire.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
didn't need to know. And she got out
Right.
of debt and then bought a car. So
Wow.
he got a fantastic graphic, and I got a trained artisan.
Perfect. Yeah.
Worked out for everybody.
And hi, Susan.
Oh, 3.
Thanks
Hi,
for joining us. So,
sure.
just telling Boyd that since there's only 3 of us, that stop me at any moment and we'll back up and answer questions and we'll go from there.
Okay.
And I'm going to share my first image. And this is an image from the last competition. And this happens to be Rick Varley's image. And I assume we can see it.
Yes.
Okay. And is it large enough that you can see fairly well?
Yeah.
Okay. So just to start with, I'm going to do 2 monochrome images. And if you're familiar with how to do monochrome, there's several different ways to do it. But these were in the competition as monochrome. And I took some of the judges' comments, and I'm going to take some of my own comments, and we're going to revise this. So the first thing that we're going to work with, and Boyd, I don't think this is in Photoshop Elements, the new remove tool. So,
That's okay. I'm going to get it sooner or later.
okay,
It's one of those round to it, so I'll get it when I get around to it.
yeah. So this is the remove tool, and it is pretty amazing. So I'm not going to take any time at all to select this. I'm not going to be very careful with it. I'm going to get rid of his copyright, which is not a good thing, but just so we can see it more clearly, the whole image, and not worry about it, I got rid of it. And that's the remove tool in Photoshop, and it's phenomenal. They just updated it again last week and added some definition to it. So it's at full resolution now, and you can do all kinds of things with it. So what I want to do with this is a bowl that is sitting on an etched glass table. And the judge had a hard time figuring it out. I did too the first time I saw it. But that's what it is. And so what I'm going to do is a couple of things. So first, if you have used this is the way I typically will do a black and white image. I'm going to go into image, adjustments, and I'm going to choose black and white. Because the original image was color, right? And because it was color, you can see these sliders that it brings up. Has anybody used this before? Susan, have you used this? Okay.
Yes.
Uwe, have you used this too?
No, I have not.
Okay. So if you haven't, you're going to like this. And I'm recording this so you can move at your own pace at a future date. So the color information is still in there, even though it's a black and white. And so I'm going to shift the reds. And you're not going to see much change. Let's see. Well, I might be lying, because if Rick desaturated the image instead of using this, that color information might be gone. So let me just check. But this is the way you should do it with your color image. You would change it to black and white, and which is up here. It will automatically change it to black and white on your screen. And then you use these sliders to change subtle tones in there. And I'm not seeing any change. So he must not have used this tool, but you should. I would recommend that you do. All right. So in that case, I'm going to go to Image Adjustments, Brightness and Contrast. And I'm going to increase the contrast a little bit to make it blacker blacks and whiter whites. You see how that's changing on the screen?
Yeah.
It's getting rid of the grays and making it much more black. Brightness, I think, is okay as is, so I'm not going to change that. And then I'm going to go to a tool that you may or may not know about, but it's a very important tool for fine tuning. And this is Image Adjustments, Replace Color. Have you used this, Susan?
No, I've never used that.
Okay. Uwe, have you used it?
Well, I have done extremely little in Photoshop, and I'm just in the process of relearning.
Okay. Well, this is a tool that you will like a lot. And here's the reason. I am going to go in here, and there's a dialog box. And if you look up here, can you see it says fuzziness up here?
Yeah.
So if I move that all the way to the right, you're going to see the entire image. But if I take the eyedropper, which is up here, and I click that eyedropper on an area that should be pretty close to black. So I'm going to go see way down here on that table. There's an area that's pretty close to black. And I'm going to choose that area. And the image fuzziness has chosen a lot of areas that have black in it. I don't want that. What I want is just the areas that have enough black, like in that table, to increase the blackness. So I'm now going to use the lightness tool, and I'm going to pull it down, and I'm making it darker. And that has once again increased what's going on here in the background. Oops, I didn't apply it. So let me go back. So image adjust, replace color. I'm going to click in the black area down here. I'm going to reduce the lightness. And it's going to make it fairly black. Okay. So now I'm going to open up the original image next to it just so we can see what our progress looks like. Whoops, wrong image. Okay. Sorry, let me go get the image. Here it is. Oh. So with Photoshop, by the way, you do File, and since I said File, Open, and I'm looking for this original image, and I should just be able to say Open. Oh, it's because I'm screen sharing. Sorry. I have to stop screen sharing and go back to just the Photoshop version.
Oh.
But anyway, we'll go back to it at the end. I want to move on to the next image. Is there anything else you would like to have done to this image? I have one other thing, actually. Anything come to mind?
Can you make that white around the table look more like ice?
The etching of the table?
Yeah,
Uh,
you got a trick up your sleeve for that?
to make it look like ice, not necessarily, but it does kind of look like ice just by itself. But I am going to do some,
Yeah, it's awfully close.
yeah. What I'm
You
going to
just
do,
nudge it a bit.
I am going to sharpen
Ooh, that's an idea.
the bowl. And I'm going to do it two different ways. So this sharpen tool, which is a triangle in your tool set on the left-hand side. So I'm doing selective sharpening, just certain areas. And now I'm going to do the elliptical marquee tool. And here's a good way to be able to do that tool. There are guides in Photoshop, and any selection you make can run up against those guides, and it makes it easier to select an object like that. You can also try select subject, but it's going to have a hard time because the table is as sharp as the foreground of the bowl. But I can just come in here. I'm in the elliptical tool, which is a selection tool. And I'm going to click in the upper left-hand corner. And I'm going to drag a little ellipse around this. Come on. Well, it's a little distorted. Well, that's close enough for what we've got. And now I'm going to show you something in filters, sharpen, but you've got all these things, sharpen edges, sharpen more, smart sharpen, etc. Most of them are pretty useless. You do want to use unsharp mask, which is counterintuitive because unsharp mask, if you see what it did, it actually way over sharpened it. And now we've got all these artifacts. That's because
Oh,
it was set at 500. So you go to your sliders and you bring it back to about 100, and almost any image can survive 100. But the radius makes a difference. So the radius is just telling you how big of a pixel or number of pixels it's choosing. So you have to choose a small radius. And typically I use as small as possible. And I ignore threshold because it doesn't really help. So small radius, somewhere around 100. And you can do that for any image you want. And it made a difference. So I'm going to cancel it and then I'm going to apply it again. So if we cancel it, maybe I said okay. It doesn't look that much different. Filter, sharpen, unsharp mask. That's the 500. Down to about 100. Down to 0.1. And I'm just going to say okay. So now that gave me a little more depth in the bowl, so it separates a little bit from the glass. Now, I could also make the glass just like the portrait mode on iPhone cameras now. If you put it in portrait mode, it will blur the background for you. And so I'm going to say Control Z, which takes you back one step. And I've got the bowl selected again. And I'm going to do select inverse. So now it's selecting the table. The bowl is no longer selected. And then you can go to back to filters and go to blur. Now, except for specific specialty cases, most of the blurs are useless as well, except for Gaussian blur. So look at what it did.
Ooh. Wow.
So I'm going to move that Gaussian blur down to a much smaller number. So if it's at 0, that's the original image, but you can move it up slightly and it softens that image and the bowl stands out even more. And you can decide what's the right amount for you, or you can even make it look like ice, Boyd. Okay.
See, I knew you could do it.
Yeah. So
I
that's,
like it.
yeah,
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
it's an improved image. And let me go to, let's see if it'll let me open it. The original. It wasn't cooperating before. So I'm going to say open with Photoshop. And it may be because I'm sharing it won't help. Yeah. Well, I was hoping it would, just so we could all see it together, but it's not going to work this time. All right, so let's move on to the next image. And I'm going to, you know what, I could also maybe save it as a copy. Let me try one more thing, sorry. Okay, never mind. So let's go and look at your image, Ed.
Okay.
And what I was discussing with the group before you came on was how do you make a black and white in the first place? Because both of these images are black and whites.
Okay.
And did you obviously, or I believe you made it from a color image. This isn't
Uh, yes, that's true.
okay. And tell me what your process would walk me through how you accomplished it.
Okay. Uh, well, you don't have a copy of the original, but the original was in color
Yeah,
and it wasn't cropped in as far on the left side.
right.
And there were lots of people in it.
Okay. Yes.
So I used the remove tool
Yeah.
in Photoshop, try to get rid of the people.
Yeah.
The first time I did it, uh, it it messed up the pattern in the street. So
Right.
the texture kind of got flattened out as it got further down the street.
Right.
I think what happened was there was a whole group of people down there, and when I selected the group, it selected the whole group and also selected a fair part of the street at the same time.
Right.
So it sort of replaced the whole thing
Oh,
instead of replacing individual people.
Right.
And I showed this in the black and white interest group, and somebody made a suggestion that if I uh, if I uh, ran the did the removal
Yep.
before I cropped it,
Yeah.
then there'd be more pixels there
Hmm.
for the algorithm to work with, and
right.
that might work better.
Yeah,
And so that's what I tried. In fact, I went beyond that and I used gigapixel
yeah,
to basically multiply the resolution by 4. And then I used the remove tool and it worked beautifully. So that's how it maintained the texture all the way down to the end and got rid of the people.
yeah. And did you use the process of using image adjustments, black and white to make it black and white? Or
Uh,
did you desaturate it?
Actually, I converted it to black and white in Lightroom
Okay,
and then went into Photoshop.
all right, all right. Well, in does Lightroom have guides, by the way? I'm not
No,
okay.
actually, I didn't realize Photoshop did until you just showed them on the other image. But
Yeah,
that's good to know.
yeah. So Photoshop has guides, and so what I'm going to do is get rid of the parallax in this building. So it's a little bit off in that one edge. And
Yeah,
over on the right-hand side, it's nice and straight, but it's a little bit off there. And
yeah, I
so,
did parallax correction on it, but I used the shutter on the right as a guide. So,
okay. So we're only going to do the left-hand side.
all right.
I'm selecting the whole image, but we should be able to do, uh, it's free transform, but I use Control or Command T, which
Yeah.
gives you the ability to transform it. And then I'm going to make it bigger so we can all see what I'm going to do. And I'm going to take this corner after I say skew.
Hmm.
You can also use distort. Skew is a little bit better in this particular case, but you have to experiment sometimes.
Hmm.
So I just
Yeah.
straightened that building out.
Hmm.
Now, let's back up and make sure it didn't throw it off on the other side. No, looks good on the other side. So
Yeah.
that's how you can control the parallax in an image and comes in very handy. I use it all the time.
Okay. That's good to know.
And the remove tool, we showed it in the other image as well, but just so we're not, we're going to take your name out of here,
Okay.
Ed, just to make it easier to see. And I want to see what it does with this sidewalk.
Yeah.
My guess is it made a little bit of extra curve in here.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not crazy about, and you probably aren't either, Ed.
No.
I'm going to come back and I'll just do it again. And I'll do it a little more carefully this time
Hmm.
so that we don't go up into that area. It worked really well with the previous image. Yeah,
Hmm.
so it did a nice job.
Oh, that's pretty good.
So something I have not done is try to do a sign. So let's look at your sign,
Okay.
a pearl, or where is this, Ed?
This
What?
is Quebec,
Oh, okay.
Canada.
All right. So I'm going to use a fairly small brush, and I'm
Okay.
going to see what the remove tool does.
Okay.
But just to give you an idea, I teach a class with Pam Perkins,
Hmm.
uh, and she had an image that she loved. But in that image, there was a person walking into the picture, which she loved that person because they were dressed very colorfully.
Hmm.
The back foot of that person was off of the edge of the screen.
Hmm.
Oh.
She had
Hmm.
clipped it. So, so we added a little bit of canvas area to it. I took the remove tool. Well, she took the remove tool and she circled that foot.
Hmm.
the half a foot, it made the other half of the foot. It's
Wow.
pretty phenomenal.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So let's look and see what this decides to do. One of the new things is it used to just outline and you had to go and fill it back in. Well, look at that.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
You can put
So
anything there you want now.
yeah, this is the Stein Cafe, I think.
Yeah.
Call it whatever you want.
It still has some streaks in it at the bottom, but it's
Yeah, yeah,
still
which is perfect. Yeah.
it's
Okay, so one of the things that the judge had mentioned, and it needs a little bit of, and he had mentioned the sky. I think this placed, right? Did this get third or honorable mention or something?
got honorable mention, yeah.
And was it in monochrome?
Yes.
Okay. So you could have replaced the sky with, it has to be your own sky, by the way. You can't just use any sky that,
All right, yeah.
but you could have replaced the sky. I'm not going to do that, but we could. It's pretty easy to do. This tree would cause a little bit of difficulty, but not a whole lot.
Yeah.
But what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to look at contrast for one thing. So simplest tool that you will use a lot is brightness and contrast.
Mhm.
So I'm going to increase the contrast, try to get the blacks a little blacker in the bricks. Well, it's not doing it. Okay. I'm going to darken the scene a little bit with the
Okay.
brightness. Then I'm going to come back and hit it with a little bit of contrast.
Okay.
That worked a little better. But what I really want to show you is, so I'm going to say okay to that.
Okay.
Uh, in Lightroom Develop Tool and in Photoshop, it's Camera Raw is what it's called.
Right.
So this will look very familiar to Lightroom people. Since there is so much texture in here,
Mm-hmm.
it will work if you increase texture. So take a look at this, and I'm going to add more texture to it. Look at what it's doing to the bricks, for example.
Mm.
In the street, a little bit, and in the wall, a little bit.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
And then you can also use clarity if you want to. You have to decide where you want to stop because now it's making the vines that are hanging down there, it's making them too contrasty. But you
Mm.
can add a little bit of clarity. And then just for giggles, I always use dehaze just to see what it's going to do.
Mm.
And that can go either to the right or left. I'm not sure. No, I'm going to move it to the left. No, brighten it up too much. You can move it to the left.
Well, what is dehaze? What is that was supposed to do?
It's supposed to be for like foggy and or smoky kind of things and to pull some of that out. So we've all taken a picture where we go back to look at it and you can't see through the haze, whether it's smoke or whatever it is.
Hmm.
And you use dehaze and it clears not 100%, but it clears up
Oh.
40% of it, something like that. But in the cases like this where you have a lot of texture, it does something. It
Mm.
helps it out. Uh, okay, so I'm not going to do anything else to it. I'm just going to say okay. And there's your image. And I'm going
Yeah.
to say file. I'm going to save it as a copy. Okay.
Very nice.
Yeah. That's got a more punch now.
It has more punch.
Yeah.
It was a little, uh, almost, you would almost say overexposed, but it really wasn't overexposed.
Yeah.
But the scene and the brightness of the sunlight during that day uh, made it appear that way.
Mm.
And then I would go ahead and put in a very subtle sky of some sort in that corner, and you'll have a really nice image there.
Yeah.
I like this image, so it has a lot going for it. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks.
Uh, any other questions about these images, by the way? All right, so now I'm going to move to, I'm going to stop sharing this because I'm going to share a different screen. And you're going to get a preview of this month's magazine.
Huh?
All right.
Just one page. So this is a page in the magazine, and it says Adobe Content Credentials are almost here. Has anybody heard about Adobe Content Credentials yet? So basically, this is a way, theoretically, to keep people from stealing your images. So, which is only going to happen more and more, especially with a lot of AI out there. It's going to grab images off the web if you put it on Facebook or you put it on Instagram or you put it somewhere. It's going to get grabbed up, and so it's going to be uh, more cause more trouble in the future. So what Adobe's done is they have set up content credentials, and it's not even in the beta site in a beta testing yet, still alpha. And what it is on this link that I have in here on this page, content-authenticity.adobe.com, you can go on there and you have to sign up to be a beta user of this. And it's actually pretty easy to use. These are the instructions on how to use it. These 5 steps. It's actually 4 steps because this last one is what alpha users are saying. So people that Adobe know and trust are using this already. And what you have to look at is that right now your images are floating around out there. If you run these images, your images, through the credential tool on Adobe, you can run, it says up to 50 files at a time. Well, I don't think that's going to be accurate because my files are way too large. If you're a social media person and you're just using small files, you may be able to run 50 files. But if you have professional high resolution photographs, you're going to be able to do 5 at a time, something like that. But what you do is you upload them to Adobe, it processes them, and in the metadata of that file, it will add to it your name and a set of credentials and a way to track this if it gets used in somebody else's system.
And this is something we can't do ourselves.
No, not yet.
Okay.
I'm assuming they're not going to let us do it either because they have to make it so it's not hackable and that it's, no one's going to break the encryption. Otherwise, you might be suing Adobe over your images. So they're taking responsibility to say, all right, you can't have it, but we'll do this. Um, it's invisible watermark. Now, I'll point your attention to the image down below. See in the corner, it has CR.
Mhm.
That symbol will appear on the thumbnail and on an image that could be on that someone tried to steal, right? That CR would show up.
Oh,
But if you're sending it to someone or using it yourself or anything that you're doing, that symbol does not show up.
Mhm.
So this is all new. You can read more about it in the article. There's a longer discussion about it at this link. And it's going to be helpful to photographers. And then
Is this,
there's going to be those guys out there trying to break it immediately. But
oh yeah.
for now,
Is this a feature of Photoshop
it is
or
It
Did
is
they charge for this or?
it's free with Photoshop
Okay.
at this time.
Oh, okay.
It looks like it's a beta for right now.
Yeah, you can only get on it. You can only get on a waiting list for the beta. You can't even get the beta version. I signed up for it a few weeks ago,
Oh,
and
did you?
I still don't have it yet.
Hmm.
So they'll
But
send.
you don't get on the alpha team that's strictly inside for them.
Yeah, I'm not an alpha guy, so
Oh,
they didn't let me do that.
I used to run alpha, man. That's a wild place. Anything goes. Break it if you can.
That's right. So uh, definitely pay attention to this. I will be writing more about this in the future, but this is an interesting start. I've been following it for almost a year when they first started talking about it, and they finally have something that's close. That's why the headline says content credentials are almost here. They're
It's a
not
great,
here yet.
Yeah.
a great article. This is good.
Yeah, it'll help get your feet wet on the whole concept. And once it's available and working properly, or even in the beta version, I'll be using it in the beta version, so I'll test it for you if you're not interested in the beta, and and then we'll see what happens.
Hmm.
Uh, but it's just there to protect your images. That's the idea.
I
Very-
like that.
Yeah, really interesting.
Yeah. Okay, we'll skip that. I had one other thing. Oh, so I always use the last 15 minutes or less, depending on people's interest, to talk about AI. So we're all using AI. If you're using Photoshop or Lightroom, you've been using AI since you first started using it. I've been using Photoshop since Photoshop 1, which wasn't even called Photoshop 1, it was just called Photoshop. And there is, and that was, believe it or not, that's AI. That was AI because you could do things that you could not do in camera.
Yeah.
And so AI is among us and it will be there for a very long time. I've been gathering articles on AI, and Kent had asked me to write an article about AI, which I started, and then I stopped. The reason being is that the line keeps moving. You know,
Oh, yeah.
what it can do changes all the time. So if I was to make a statement that, AI, we can stop AI from doing this because we have all these other things, and that's not necessarily true. So AI is going to be with us. Adobe has written several articles saying that whether you like it or not, AI is with us, and that photographers should embrace it, not kick it down the street. But I'm kind of in the middle right now because there's so much, especially in the kind of images we put into our monthly competitions. It's just not fair if, you know, uh, Pam, you didn't get that person's rear foot in there, so you can't make one and then stick it in there, you know? So that kind of is happening. But the remove tool is taking a little bit of that out of our control too. In that, just like your image, Ed, you
Mhm.
circled a group of people and it got rid of the people, but it also did something you didn't like.
Right.
But if you did it to the sign and you made it Stein's Cafe, who's to know? You know, who's to know
Yeah,
that?
that's the problem.
Yeah, that's the problem. And uh, until Adobe, although they say they're working on this too, so I'll be talking about this in the future. Until Adobe places a watermark, not even necessarily a watermark, an outright stamp on every image that says generated with AI or partially generated with AI or
Mhm.
something so that we know that some photographer was not standing on top of a breaching whale when he took the picture. You know?
Yeah.
If we don't have the common sense to know that.
Yeah, that's right. Although I did something similar to that a few years ago when we had a competition. It was April Fool's. So that our competition this coming month is not April Fool's, but it was April Fool's. So I put in an image of a breaching humpback, water dripping off of it, and just perfect focus, and you know, water in the background, and it looked absolutely amazing. Like I was, 30 feet from it when I took the picture. Uh, but I wasn't. I was 30 feet from it when I took the picture, but it is actually a statue of a whale in, some of you may have seen it if you've been to Juneau, Alaska. They have on the edge of the harbor, they have a whale. Uh, and if you take it at a nice angle, it looks real.
Wow.
So I didn't enter it into competition. I just simply said April Fools.
Good.
So the one of the other things that's going to be coming up, and I may have talked about this last time. I don't know if you were here for any of you were here for this one, but let's look at. I'm going to share. I'm going to share your shot, Ed.
Hmm.
So if you've played with generative expand at all, if you haven't, then I'm going to walk you through the whole thing. But you go to your crop tool, and my crop tool happens to be hidden because I almost never use it. But my crop tool is here in the marquee tools. And all you do is click on the crop tool, and then it creates this look. And I can add some space to it.
Hmm.
So I'm going to make this a little more rectangular instead of, it's almost square the way you had it shot it originally, Ed. So down here, down below, you'll see it says generative expand.
Oh.
And you can type in there, what would you like to generate? Well, I could say I could put a swimming pool in the side yard of the street or something. I'm not going to say that. I'm just going to simply come over here where it says generate,
Mhm.
and I'm going to let AI decide what goes on either end of that building.
Hmm.
So it's generating right now, and it takes, my computer's pretty fast, so it'll take 20, 30 seconds to create more of that image. And there it is.
Hmm.
So it
Wow.
Added more building down there.
added,
Wow.
added more building, added more trees down here,
Yeah.
Yeah.
added a new building, kind of almost like a church spire down there.
Hmm.
Well, it's pretty good.
It looks pretty good. I'm going to show you the weakness. So now I'm going to zoom up.
Oh.
Not perfect.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it's still got a ways to go.
Right.
Didn't copy the texture.
Yeah, uh, it's
The
got a
lines
ways,
are a little distorted too.
and you'll have to. The key is with this tool is that if you don't like what you saw, do it again.
Hmm.
So I'm going to do that for you. I'm going to Control
Okay.
Command Z back to the original image, and then I'm going to hit Generative Expand, And then I'm going to hit once it comes up.
Does it put the same
Oh,
amount of pixels?
it adds pixels to your image. So depending on how much. So I'm just going to add a little bit to this one end and see if we get any better result on this end. Give it a little breathing room down there. And what I'm hoping it'll do is give us some space and maybe just a tree or something. But it may not necessarily do that. There's another way we can do this as well, but I'm just going to say generate for now. There you go.
Oh,
Oh, that came out pretty well.
Yeah.
nice.
So that tree looks pretty good. And I don't know, put like a graveyard or a fence or something out there.
Hmm.
It even, I don't know if it did or not. We'll have to go back to the original. Did it curve this? Was that in the original? Let's go back.
I don't know if it did that.
Well,
Yeah, it's on a
it,
Yeah, it's
canal,
cool.
so
it
there's a
filled in
boat
the
out
curve.
there.
Yeah. And it got rid of whatever that says Lewis back there
Yeah.
on the wall. So,
How does it print up? Does it print up, is it like, does it print well? Like it's not less pixels so that I don't know if I'm making sense, a question.
no, no, it does. Yeah. So up until, uh, 6 months ago, I would say you can't do anything other than use it as like projected.
Okay.
Now they've increased the resolution, especially with camera raw. They've increased the resolution. I don't know. I can't answer that for Lightroom, but I think it can do it in Lightroom now too.
Wow.
So you can make a very nice print out of it.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. So generative expand is something that uh, technically you can't use it in a competition, even if it's monochrome or even if it's
Mhm.
one where you can use Adobe tools. You could clone something. I could have filled that in with cloning,
Oh,
but because it's AI, which cloning is AI too, there's a fine line. So right now our rules say we can't, just to let you know.
yeah, that's good to know.
I think in the short, I think I'm going to have to change my vote on that to go on the side of allowing generative expand as long as it's still using your pixels from the image. It's not creating a whole new image there, right?
Mhm.
It didn't find a different tree. It just found that tree that was there and replicated it.
Oh, yeah. Now, how can you tell though? How would you know if it did that or not?
Well, just by looking at it, I think.
Yeah.
You can see that there's some branches here and the just the tone of it and everything else.
Oh, okay.
So there's lots of ways to look at it and tell that. Now, whether judges are going to be educated enough to do it, I don't know. Uh, Judges seem to be pretty on top of most things, and we've had a good group of judges in the past, so hopefully we continue with that. But whether or not they're going to be hardball on AI, we'll have to see. But my stance at some point will be that if it is your, if it's just duplicating your pixels and you're expanding it, then maybe that's okay. I'm going to do it one more time on the other side. So there's generative expand. I'm going to do this side. What I want to see what it's going to do is there's a very thin margin between the shutter and the brick.
Hmm.
And it's got lots of examples of these hanging plants, and it's got lots of example of brick up here, but this is going to be tricky. So we'll see what it does on this
Yeah,
one.
this will be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Mm,
Got the
Perfect.
brick texture pretty well too.
Yeah, perfectly acceptable. And
Oh.
put a potted plant in there to anchor it on that side. And wow.
Mm.
now there's a difference in shading on the second floor
Yeah.
next to the window, and then it's light out a little ways, about a third of the way over to the right,
You
and
know
then it
what?
gets darker. I don't
You
know
know
if
what? That was in the original, Ed, and I'll show
it
you that.
was okay.
We'll go back. Uh, I'm going to undo it. So keep your eye in this area right here,
Yeah.
Okay.
and I'm going to undo it. See how there's
Oh
some
Oh
yeah.
yeah,
dark
you're
up
right.
there and light?
Yeah. Huh.
And the reason I knew that right away is not that I remembered that. I'm not that brilliant, but uh, the fact that the line, so I'm going to pull a guide over here. We were talking about from the edge of where the shutter was,
Yeah.
and I knew that there was dark and light in there.
Mm.
Okay.
So a lot of our future in photography is going to be dealing with light, number one, but
Mm,
also dealing with extreme nuances more and more. And anyway, so you've got a cool image here, Ed. Yeah.
oh,
Put some sky in there
yeah.
and go from there.
Okay. Well, thanks very much. There are lots of possibilities there.
Yeah, you're welcome. And each time I do a class, I'm gonna just demonstrate if there's a new tool and an improvement on a tool, I'll concentrate on that. But I'll
Mm,
still use some of the old things like fixing the parallax problems and
yeah.
things. I'll throw some of those things in there.
If you wanted to do something real tricky, like put a street vendor with a cart with things on there in front of the building, would that be fairly easy to do with layering, or would you want to do some other kind of trick?
You said like put a street vendor with a cart?
Like, yeah, there's, a lot of street vendors with carts with stuff,
Yeah, yeah.
bones and bag man kind of thing.
Okay, so get this. Yes, we can. So we have uh, the generate tool down here, and you can add a prompt. So I'm going to add a prompt, and I'm
Mm,
going to say vegetable street vendor
Oh, nice.
with cart.
Perfect.
part rather than card. Yeah.
Yeah,
You got two R's there.
yeah, one R in the cart last
Oh,
time.
well.
There you go.
British.
Vegetable street vendor with cart. Okay,
Okay.
and
See what it does.
hopefully it'll recognize that I said street. It'll recognize the other words, but we'll see if how close it comes to our idea. Now, keep in mind when it does this, it should do three versions. It doesn't
Mm,
just do one, so we'll have choices.
Wow.
Well, there's a street vendor down there.
well, yeah, that's a little.
He's not helping us.
Oh, it's way down there.
Yeah. Maybe it's trying to proportionally figure out where to put it. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I can hit here, generate similar, and it'll try again.
It doesn't show a cart either.
No.
Yeah, not
Motorcycle.
It's like he's dragging something. Oh yeah, a bicycle or a motorcycle.
Oh, look at
yeah.
that one.
Oh, that.
Oh, you know what? It's doing it in the expanded area.
Oh, I wonder. Oh, okay.
Select the other area.
Yeah, so that's my fault. So what we'll do is I'll go down here and I'll find the contextual contextual taskbar. Let's see if I can find that. Come on. Okay. Okay, so let's say I'm going to go to your original image and I'm going to see if it'll generate an image for me.
Hmm.
Don't think it's liking the fact that I have this layered image.
Oh,
Uh,
So I'm going to go back and I am going to crop this. Okay. And then let's see if I can get it to contextual taskbar. I've turned it off and I need to turn it back on again. I don't want it to select subject. I want it to generate.
hmm.
Well, I'm guessing I have to go back to ground zero to get it to work.
Mm.
But I'll bet it could do that. And
yeah.
just for the heck, boy,
Yeah.
tomorrow I'll see if I can generate it. I'll go back to ground zero and
Yeah.
and
The reason I brought that up is a few years ago I did one where I used a lighthouse for a tower, and then I used seagulls for a flyover, and I did an homage for a missing man formation of a
oh
return
yeah,
combat flight with a missing man out
yeah,
using the seagulls because they look a
oh,
lot like fighter jets.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
The judge didn't get it at all, but
That's always true.
yeah.
The judges don't always get it,
So
but
then another one, I took some elephant seals and put them on Mission Peak Trail on a picnic table. When I get in one of my moods, you better watch out. Let me tell you that.
that's right. Well, there's something called a liquefy tool. You ever use that?
No.
A liquefy tool. I'll just do it super fast just to show you. But filter and liquefy. This is I've used it recently, so it's up here in my recently used. But this is the liquefy tool that I want down here. So it opens up a new screen
Ah,
and you have to choose your size and pressure. That takes a little bit of time to figure that out. But I'm gonna warp this building, and it's what you could do with your elephant seals. The picnic table needs a little warping if you got a couple of elephant seals sitting up there.
yeah.
See what I'm doing?
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Oh, earthquake.
Like, yeah.
So my daughters, when they were little, always came in to use the liquefy tool, and then they did this. They went with
Oh,
image
yeah.
just for the
Mm.
heck of it. And
That's the contractors rebuilding my neighbor's house.
yeah, that's right. There's one like this in Holland that I saw. So,
Like a mirror in a fun house.
but keep that liquefy aspect in mind because it could help uh, with something. So I'm going to cancel that, but I'll bring it back. Let's just say this curve, you didn't want that curve.
Mhm.
And I might be able to do enough with this that I could get rid of the curve. I need a smaller brush.
Ooh. Nice.
Yeah. Tiny details.
Nice.
So just keep it in the back of your mind for something where you may need something like that someday.
Yeah.
It also works on waistlines, by the way.
Oh.
All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us. And
This was wonderful. Thank you.
It was
Yeah.
really good. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much. This was
Thank you.
very informative.
we'll see
Yeah.
you. We'll see you in a month.
All right.
Okay.
Great. Good night, everybody.
Good
Good
night.
Bye.
night. Bye-bye.